This is truly a compromised budget. It includes all the elements that the governor said that he needs in order to sign. It includes budget reform, it includes more cuts, and it includes a lottery proposal. As a matter of fact, in regard to more cuts, you will hear throughout the debate today the chairs of the budget subcommittees will detail cuts that have been made in many areas. On the budget reform, it increases the size of the rainy day fund from 5% to 10% of the general fund revenues, like the nonpartisan LAO suggests. It includes millions in new cuts from the conference report. It protects school funding from the changes to the lottery, securitizing the revenue stream to pay down debt. Members, we all know what we have is a $15 billion problem. There's really only 4 ways we can address a $15 billion problem. We can do it through $15 billion more in cuts. We can do it through borrowing. We can do it through accounting gimmicks, or we can do it through revenue. If you can imagine if we could cut $15 billion out of the budget, $15 billion more, that might mean we would have to close most of the institutions of higher education, closing all the state prisons. If we borrowed, it would leave us with multi-billion-dollar debt next year. If we tried accounting gimmicks, in January of '09, the governor would have to declare another fiscal emergency, and billions of dollars of cuts would have to be made. Cutting programs in '09 like education that would have already allocated resources. The bottom line is we cannot solve a $15 billion deficit without new revenue. Many of us have difficulty with the thought of bringing in new revenue because we're afraid that it might hurt the middle class. But our revenue package, as Assemblymember Laird just mentioned, calls for individuals who make more than $500,000 a year to pay $728. And even this $728, part of it can be deducted from your federal income tax. Several years ago when the economy was strong, we gave tax breaks to people who made over $500,000. Now when the economy is weak, we need this group of Californians to contribute to the economy so those people who make $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year can afford to send their children to school. We all know that next year we will still be in an economic downturn. What we do now will determine whether the governor will have to declare another fiscal emergency. This is day 48 without a budget. If we don't pass a budget soon, we are going to have to engage in a different type of borrowing just to pay the day-to-day services that the state provides. We would have to borrow approximately $4 billion to keep the state functioning. If we borrow that $4 billion, we are then going to wind up having to spend $300 to $400 million in debt service that would add to the debt next year. We are ready to go with budget reform right now. We're having this vote today because the Secretary of State said that if we are able to accomplish this, we could put budget reform on the ballot tomorrow. We're ready to go to the ballot right now with the lottery. I do understand the difficult position that my Republican colleagues are in because many of them have made pledges. But over the last 2 weeks, my Republican colleagues have demanded that we vote on the budget. In the past, Democrats have been accused of staging a drill to pressure our Republican colleagues when we put up a budget when we knew that there weren't the votes. So I'm assuming, because I'm optimistic and I don't want to be cynical, that since there was the demand for the vote, that means that at least 6 members of the Republican caucus are willing to vote on this budget. Over the last 2 months, I've met with many Republican leaders, some of them business leaders, CEOs, Chamber of Commerce members, who were Republicans who believe that this situation is an extraordinary situation, who believe that the budget should not be held up because of pledges when it is so clear that revenues are needed. Members, I ask for your aye vote.